good morning, and good afternoon to in-house counsel and in-house legal professionals from all across North America and the world. Welcome to In-House Connect. My name is Shai Mahani. I'm the CEO and co-founder of In-House Connect, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. Thank you for spending your breakfast time or your lunchtime with us. And special thanks to our wonderful sponsor, GCAI, and our fantastic presenters today, Cecilia Ziniti, Jennee, DeVore, and Amy Guzman, who are going to teach us how to unlock the power of AI for in-house legal teams with GCAI. This is our 49th webinar of the year. Let's get to today's webinar, which is Unlock the Power of AI for in-house legal teams with GCAI. We have a fantastic panel. I dare say they are GCAI power users, or perhaps they're AI power users. So first on our panel is Amy Guzman. Amy is general counsel for Soshi. She has over 20 years of legal experience as a collaborative business partner with both early stage and public companies, where she's built effective legal functions and processes. She manages risks and she ensures regulatory compliance. Amy manages Soshi's legal privacy and compliance functions. And before Soshi, she was managing commercial counsel at Lyft, where she built a legal team to support Lyft's business programs for enterprise, federal and state agencies, higher education, healthcare, nonprofit, and social enterprise customers and initiatives. Joined by Amy is Jennee DeVore. Jennee is a legal executive with over 2 decades of experience in the life sciences industry, specializing in launching innovative healthcare products. She's passionate about global market launches, deep leadership, compliance programming, and effective corporate governance. Jennee is a legal executive and advisor for multiple companies, including serving as the VP of Legal at Inflamatics and general counsel at Simple Healthcare, where she leads legal and compliance strategies. As a working mom to 3 kids, Jennee finds joy and balance throughout her day by leveraging AI tools to enhance operational efficiency and drive innovation. It's wonderful to have you with us, Jennee. And last, but certainly not least, we have Cecilia Ziniti. Cecilia is the founder and CEO of a legal AI company, GCAI, where she built, based on her experience as a 3-time general counsel and AI expert. For 2 decades, Cecilia has driven product and company success across major tech shifts and turned early technologies into iconic products that millions of people use every day. I hope that comes true for GCAI. As a 3-time executive team member for venture-backed tech companies, including the software unicorn Replit, Cecilia has led all aspects of operations for hypergrowth. She has architected and closed partnerships with blue chips companies like Google and Amazon, and quarterbacked over $300 million in venture capital rounds from top-tier investors like Andreessen Horowitz, Co2 Index, and JP Morgan. Previously, Cecilia was an intellectual property litigator and tech transactions attorney at Marson & Forster, where she represented Apple, among many other companies. It is wonderful to have such an experienced and well-versed panel in all things AI and in-house counsel. So without further ado, I'll turn things over to Cecilia to get us started.
Thank you so much, Shai, and thanks everyone. I hope you're caffeinated because we're going to go fast, and this is not going to be your ordinary risks, CLE, can I, simultaneously win connections while I'm watching the CLE? No, the answer is you can't. You got to dive in and practice on the AI with us. We intend for this panel to be useful. I want for you to literally leave this and be like, today I learned, and also leave this being like, wow, this AI thing, like let's dive in. So super excited. Jennee and Amy are, I'm lucky to call them good friends and also incredible users of AI. And I say this having been at Amazon, I've been around software engineers. My old CEO at Replit used to dream in code. Well, these 2 incredible GCs give him and others a run for his money in terms of really thinking about how you use AI in your legal work. All of you have heard all the hype from everybody, including Chief Justice Roberts, that literally AI is a thing. So you're convinced, you're here, all 257 of you, very excited to see you. So let's dive in. All right, quick poll, and I don't have the fancy thing Shai does, but true or false, I have unlimited resources and time to do my legal work in-house. All right, you're 1 out of 45. Oh my gosh, you're 3 people. I literally teach me your ways because I'm still looking for that job that gives away free money. I have not found it, but if you found it, let me know, you 6 people. Anyways, yeah, so look, That's the pitch. Like, I think AI, like I wouldn't have quit my job as a GC to do it if I didn't think that you could get there, that you could make it amazing. And then another poll, how much are you using AI for legal work? All right, so let's see. So never, weekly, daily, hourly. Look at that. So Shai told me the panel, or that the AIHC was spicy, but he did not say how engaged everyone is. This warms my heart, so thank you. Looks like we got a good mix. We got some people daily, some people hourly. My experience and the experience of our users as GCAI is that it really is, once you get into using it, you get better and better and better. And so our goal today is like, take the people who are never, okay, we're gonna bring you into the like using it at least sometimes. The people who are weekly, let's get you to daily, daily to hourly, hourly to minutely. Is that even a word? Anyways, let's move on. Thank you so much for the poll. All right, so in order for AI to become indispensable to you, you must learn the way. So this is my like random mixing of metaphors. But in any event, on the right is Anne Hathaway in The Devil Wears Prada. And she is famous not only for being an insane piece of 2000s trivia, but also for being literally the world's best intern. In the movie, she gets a pre-release copy of Harry Potter. She's this amazing resource for Meryl Streep, who is in the movie basically the editor of Vogue. My metaphor, I won't get into it today. I do have other recordings that we can chat about, but essentially AI well prompted can be as good as an intern for you. Now you might say, okay, I'm a pretty junior lawyer. I don't need an intern. Well, yes, you do, because guess what happens when you give a junior lawyer an intern? They become a senior lawyer. What happens when you give a senior lawyer an incredible intern that never tires, that can do all your work? Well, that's what we're going to do today. All right, so the agenda for today, we're going to get into some prompt tips. I'm going to give you 3 quick tips. I have 14 of them that GCI co-founder Bardia Korvakil will drop in the chat. We have 14 prompting tips. We're not going to go over all 14 because we want to focus on the real meat of this thing, which is the interactive prompting. And then we're going to do some Q&A. But again, the goal today, what I've heard for AI is that giving AI to a very good lawyer, which again, you all are you made it to in-house, you made it through law school. You know, if you are on the paralegal side, you know, again, a company is paying you for your legal work. You know, if you give someone of that caliber AI, who is already a wordsmith, already good at their job, the metaphor that I've also heard is that it's like giving a marathon runner a bicycle. Now, your elite marathon runners, you know, let's say you run sub 2 hours in my dreams. Anyway, you run sub 2 hours. And if I came to you, I was like, here, take this bike. You'd be like, I don't want to deal with the straps and the helmet and the Peloton. Like, You know, you might have some hesitation. But once you got over that, you have the innate athleticism to be an insane bicyclist. Similarly, you have the innate smarts and ability to research, do critical thinking, assemble information that can make you an elite AI user. And we see this again and again with users of GCAI. So this is literally learning to ride a bike. Best way to learn to ride a bike is to get on the darn thing. We recently taught my 4-year-old how to do it, and it's a joy. It requires a lot of patience. I can tell you that AI is actually quite a bit easier. All right, so let's dive in. All right. So prompt tip 1, treat AI like an intern. So this is the fun thing about AI, is that it's surprisingly human-like. So a couple of fun stats just to get this in your brain. So if you tell AI to take a deep breath and think about it step by step, it will perform much better. Now that's weird. I've never literally done that to a computer and told it to take something step by step. But because it was trained on human writing, where human writing is better when it's sequential and it's step by step, it does better. Similarly, in December of last year, ChatGPT got kind of weirdly lazy. So it would literally, you would ask it things and be like, why don't you look that up yourself? Or why don't you write your own email? And users were complaining about it. And the leading theory at that time for why that was happening was that it was the last 2 weeks of December and that it was the holidays. And the AI had somehow learned in the training data that we're meant to be lazy and not work that hard the last 2 weeks of December. Amazing, right? So the technical reasons for that, we can get into separately, but the point is you've already either been an intern or managed an intern in your life. And that's literally the approach that you should take with AI. It's a smart, fast, overeager college intern Who has read the entire internet? I've got some images there. This is like my metaphor I'm enamored with, but I'm going to cut it down so we can jump right in. All right, prompt tip 2, give context. So just like an intern, if you were given a one-word instruction, in fact, it's even a meme on the legal internet, please handle things, PLS, handle THX. That's not a very good instruction. The work that you do when you are told an instruction that vague, not going to be as good as the work that you do when someone either senior to you or a client, all of you in-house probably do this when you manage outside counsel, you give them very clear guidelines of what you want. I want an email that does XYZ, or I want to research this one aspect of this one regulation. Do not give me a 50-state survey of all the new privacy laws. So really being sort of like contextual and specific. Similarly, the risk profile that you have when you're less than 10-person startup like GCAI versus if you're like a Honeywell or you're literally, a huge corporation doing, PG&E, let's say, very different risk tolerances. So researching a particular issue, giving that context is going to make the AI better at whatever it is that you asked. So the example here in the chat or here in the deck, a bad AI prompt, review this deck. You might get something vague, but a good prompt is you go into GCAI, you give your company profile, and then you say exactly what it is you're doing. I am drafting a slide deck on how to comply with the new AI executive order. We're working on training a new AI model. I want to ensure the content is clear, actionable, and helpful to my company's engineering team. So this is a powerful few sentences. You've told the AI what you're working on, who you're working on it for, how you want the context to be. So as legal, you probably get asked to review things all the time, right? Like business person sends you a product document, take a look. If they told you, take a look, I'm most concerned about this, then you're homed in on that and you're going to give higher quality legal advice. Same principle applies to AI. All right, and then tip 3, be specific, both in what you ask, in what you want it to respond, and then in a target or format. So again, that same example, I said exactly what I wanted, and I gave a specific thing to do. So in this, actually looks like I messed up the image, but we'll get into these tips. I want you to listen when we get into the actual prompting with Jennee and Amy. I want you to almost play bingo around what the tips are. Again, we're not going to give you tips for riding a bike. We're going to ride the bike. So let's dive in. If you follow those 14 tips, by the way, I can tell you, based on having seen at this point in the thousands of users use AI, I can tell you that you will be an elite. You will be, perhaps Lance Armstrong type of like your Tour de Francing level of AI prompting. All right. Okay, so follow along. Does everybody have an account? Everybody good? Yes. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Okay, good. All right. Okay, we're going to do a simple product counseling example. So before I was a founder, I was a GC at a company called Lambda School, and they do online learning. And one of the things that they do is this thing called the IY loop. So it's I do, we do, you do. And essentially for pedagogy, it's the way to do it. All right, so let's see. So writing a Slack or Teams post. All right, so we're going to write a post, or we're going to tell our business team about the Texas Data Security and Privacy Act. Here we are in the main interface of GCAI, and you'll see it looks a bit like ChatGPT. So those of you who are new to AI, a blank box is opportunity. All right, so it's literally like it can be intimidating, but we're gonna have that veil down. All right, so our final results, it looks like we're about half and half with people that are new to AI versus experienced users. So, okay, this is the main interface. We're going to go in and we're going to pick our profile. In the case that you're new, you're going to actually be writing the profile yourself. So, okay, so I'm going to tell it a little bit about GCAI. GCAI is an AI SaaS startup, we're going to write our address, etc. If you don't have time to do this, that's okay. But a prompting tip overall, remember how I talked about give context? We let you do that on a company basis. So let's say you work for Acme, you write about Acme over here. All right, so that is saved. I'm going to exit out of that and I'm going to ask our question. So let's say we have a privacy question and we want to ask our exec team in Slack, tell our exec team about it in Slack. Tell me the latest on the Texas Data Privacy and Security Act. Please help me write a Slack post for the executive team of my company about it and what we need to do to comply. Assume that we have customers in Texas, hello Texan, and are not a small business. All right, so a couple things I did here before we actually start. In fact, I'm gonna hit enter and then talk about things that I did before we start. Okay, so I'll start by, we told it to tell us the latest. And by the way, we told it what law we're interested in. We could have just said, hey, what's that privacy law? And that would have been a vague prompt. That would have given a bad result. In this scenario, we told it what we want. We want a Slack post. We were very specific. We told it for whom we wanted it, for the executive team. We told it what we need to do to comply. And we gave it a little bit of background information. Now, if we had not done that, it's possible that AI would have prompted us and asked. But that ability to home in on what exactly your question is, congratulations, you are a prompt engineer. Like literally, like that's what it is. And a lot of people, I think, either are intimidated by the tech, but this is tech that we as lawyers have the opportunity to really be those elite bikers. So if you can see, again, I was very specific. I asked it what to do. So how did it do? It said, I'll start by gathering the details. And it gives me a pretty clear recitation, right? Like this is pretty good. Applicability, rights, controller obligations, data protection assessments, enforcement. And now let's look at the real beauty here. Let's look at how it did on Slack. Now this is a little bit long for Slack, although I've been known to write longer. But anyways, as you may be aware, the TDPSA comes into effect July 1, very timely. That's a couple weeks from now. The new regulation impacts any business operations we have in Texas. Here's what we need to do. And it gives us a nice list. So let's take it to the next step. So shorten this and use emojis, please. By the way, asking please, AI will mirror you, because again, it's human-like. So AI will mirror you, so I tend to be polite. Fun fact.
And folks in the chat, if you are using GCAI, tell us in the chat and let us know, how it's going.
So sometimes your AI is going to be a little bit non-compliant. That's okay. I asked for emojis and it's like, hey, you know what? We're being serious. We're talking about Texas privacy. I'm not going to give you emojis. That's okay. Again, the human intern would probably potentially do the same thing. So let's say more emojis. Let's see how it does. There we go. Now we got some emojis. So don't be afraid to iterate with AI. That's another important prompting tip. All right. So if you're being sassy, will my AI output be sassy? Asking for a friend. So Jessica's friend, you are safe, but yes, it will be sassy. So there is a school of prompting theory that says that you have to be a little bit aggressive or mean to your AI to get it to be compliant. Now, I personally, my management style, shocker, I'm a little bit more positive, but if that's your style and that's what works for you, that's fine. Another fun fact about AI, you can role play. So you can literally upload something and be like, be a mean CFO reviewing this budget request. And it will come back and it will be, in fact, a mean CFO. So excellent. All right. So that was the I do portion. Now we're going to do a we do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back and debrief, and Jennee and Amy each have effectively their own very sophisticated examples of this that we're going to dive in. So we're going to show you kind of like, we're going to ride the bike, and then we're going to have the elite riders show us how they're doing it. Yeah, so Bardia points out another good point. Literally, when you talk about the system prompt, what you tell the AI in the background, there was a whole thing in prompt engineering about effectively threatening your AI that you will hurt it with a big stick, or the user might die if it doesn't do something. So it's very, very human-like and weird and fun, and that is why I love this job and working with you all to do this. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually set a timer for 2 minutes. It's going to feel crazy fast. That's okay. You're not going to get hurt. I promise. All right. So 2 minutes, and we'll chat, and I'll probably be on the Zoom chat, but 2 minutes, and your job is to look up a law and write a Slack or Teams post about it. It can be something you already know. Some ideas that we looked at is like, TCPA is one people advise on a lot. If you're in biotech, maybe you're doing some FDA reg, whatever it is, you got 2 minutes. I'm going to set the timer to go now. Okay, we are back. So the question is, how did that feel? Drop in the chat, scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is this intern is terrible, did absolutely nothing. 10 is give this intern a Nobel Prize. Holy moly, I loved it. Oh my gosh, we got some Nobel Prize winners from Allison, from Yalika, from Shai. Amazing. I love it. We got some 8s, 8.5s. All right, good. I mean, look, like I don't have a Nobel Prize. I hope one day, hashtag goals, but in any event, looks like you got a cookie. Ask me questions. Oh, good. All right, like it. All right, so let's dive in and see what we could do. So now we're gonna dive into, Jennee's gonna give us a little bit of how, let's see, we have an example from Jennee, or no, sorry, Amy. Yeah, so let's have Amy, can you show us, I can stop sharing screen, but do you want to show us about how you did this particular exercise of writing a Slack post?
Sure, give me 1 second to pop on over. I'm less eloquent sometimes when I'm actually prompting, because sometimes I do things a little more free flow. I think it works for me in GCAI, mostly because I've spent a lot of time building out my company profile and putting in a lot of information that I wanted to have in here. So this is Sasco, and actually let me look at the non-solicitation. Here's the non-solicitation alert, where I basically wanted to go in and explain, to our sales team that they are not allowed to tell customers based on the product that they can solicit third-party reviews. And for everybody else that's on here, if you are speaking to salespeople, you get like 2 seconds. It has to be really short, really punchy, bullet points to kind of get the point across that'll resonate with them. Definitely lots of emojis. So I put in a short background explaining what I wanted, what I was looking for it to do. And then information about a case that I wanted it to look up. I did not provide the case. I just told them what the case was. I know about the case, so I'm able to check it. And then I put in the task that I wanted a brief write up about the laws and the regulations restricting review solicitations, negative review suppression, and look at US, Canada, and Europe. And then my last point here was, please make the format write up as a Slack alert for the sales team that has pizzazz, is engaging, informative, to post for our sales team. Make it easily understandable for a 7th grader. And the reason that I say that is I find that it uses really simple words that it's not confusing to anyone. I generally don't get a lot of follow-up questions when I do it this way. So this is really how the Slack alert came out. It says that's an important update to the sales team, what we can't do, what we can do, the legal lowdown. So it's giving the information about the Fashion Nova case where they got fined $4.2 million for suppressing negative reviews. And then the lesson here is to always be transparent, to use good ethics. And so this is really simple. So then all I would do is copy and paste this into Slack and send it out to our sales and customer success team. And I do a lot of our alerts like this, and it can be on any topic. So it makes things a lot easier.
Look at this. Show the good and the bad, no cherry picking. Like, to me, like, this is something we all understand, right? Like, we've all gotten, all of us in-house, if you've supported sales or marketing teams at all. And now it's quite funny because I am the sales and marketing team a little bit, where you're like, how about if we just spam our users? Wouldn't that be amazing? Or like, hey, can we take down Glassdoor reviews? I happen to know the Glassdoor GC, and she says it's literally the most frequent question that they get is like, can we take down negative reviews? And so Amy's example here, so many awesome threads to pull, Amy. Like, and how did you think to do all this, Amy?
Let's see. So I'd say, like, for this, when I'm putting this together, I do this probably, whenever I think, usually what happens is I spot an issue coming across the company, and then I start pulling information together and I write these summaries. I would say that I send summaries like this out daily. And when I used to put alerts like this out, it would take me, I don't know, hours to distill it, put it together, rewrite it a few times, think about how punchy it was. I'd give it to a few people. They'd come back and say, it's too wordy, too much legalese. I don't have to think about that anymore. Now I can just like throw it in here, ask it to, type it up for me, put the emojis in, and I would say it probably for alerts like this or simple stuff that's really administrative where I need to get this information out, it probably saves me 70% of my time easily. I just have to go collect the original information. It does the rest of the work, which is great for me.
Yeah, I mean, so that's awesome. Like basically like iterating in that same way that you kind of iterate with for clients, right? Like, and the thing is like, we all saw, did anybody see Adobe had a thing like a week or two ago where they had a pop-up about their terms of use and the internet just went ape nuts? Does anybody remember? We put that through GCAI and we said, hey, using some of Amy's tips, like make this more understandable, put this in a 7th grade reading level, make this clear. It's basically like, and it did well. So I think as lawyers, like we are sophisticated, and as legal team members, we're used to being able to parse a lot of really dense language, but sometimes the real value add in-house in particular is being that translation layer. And so using AI to help you get the message across. And ultimately, by the way, this emoji thing, they've done research. Has anybody ever watched the compliance videos on Virgin Atlantic, like the ones on Virgin that are like so entertaining with the dancing and everything, where it's like you're getting on the plane and you like remember to bring your mask down, and it's like so funny. And now even United has copied that. Well, it's because when you actually make your message fun, you drive more compliance. So this is really sophisticated thinking about how do you get sales teams or other teams to do the compliant thing by giving them the message in a way that resonates with them. And so this is spectacular. Like when Amy shared this with me, I'm like, my reaction was, first of all, awesome prompt engineering, but second of all, like this is somebody who really cares about their clients and their stakeholders. And for me, like that's what makes me so happy, and that's why we, I do what I do, is to help everybody do that. And you have that satisfaction moment. And I bet she posts this in Slack. And I'm going to guess that people's emoji reactions, people were emoji reacting, with a thumb up and they got it and all excited and they were doing it. And it drove the behavior that she was trying to drive. So nice work.
Amy, can you show the prompt? Somebody's asking to scroll up.
Oh yeah, I'll just scroll up. It's super simple. It's just I put in the background, and it's great because when you're in GCAI, you can go into the prompt and you can put information in there and it will help drive the actual prompt for you. And you can use that so you don't have to think a lot about it. And then I, of course, was an early beta user, and I did Cecilia's Maven class early on, and she gave us setup formats for some of the prompts. This is actually a little more built out. Some of mine are really, really plain vanilla, and I start an actual dialogue with GCAI. So I might start off and say like, oh, that's a really interesting result. If I'm looking at a law, tell me more about this. Now go to this section and tell me more about this. And now give me 3 examples that are applicable to my company. And because I've built out my profile, it will tell me 3 specific examples that are so on point, because I've told it like what a risk factor is, what we do. I explain a lot about our products, and it makes it so that I don't have to spend time. Like, for example, the FTC non-compete final rule. It just makes things so much easier. I don't have to read a long document. I can say like, this is our company, this is our culture, this is what we're concerned about. And then I think over time, the responses that I get are just more sophisticated, just on point.
Awesome. Yeah. So basically the hashtags, so when she talked about prompt format, so Amy has spent a lot of time getting this to where it goes. But as she mentioned, like you can do it in a more basic way and kind of evolve to that, right? But the hashtags there, those are actually creating headers. So you see how she's got it broken out, where she's got, if you zoom in, you can see that she's got background. We want to ensure our sales team members, etc. and then the task. And so this is basically sending a memo to the intern where you're like, hey, intern, here's the background, here's the task. And you can even go further with the hashtags and create subheaders for the format and whatnot. So great work, Amy. Awesome. All right. So in terms of what's next, let me pull up. Let's take over to Jennee and how you use AI. So the slide, it's this slide here, 16. Let me drop it for you so you have it. All right.
Which example are you pulling up?
Yeah, or if you have a Slack one or one that's coming to mind for you. I liked your thing of the different ways that you use AI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can just speak to it instead of shuffling between the slides. Everybody has the slides. Like Amy said, there is an element of the tool that helps to facilitate, the administrative function of all of our days. I think before a tool like this, before Gen AI kind of LLM chatbots, a significant portion of my day was taking content and iterating on it to make it digestible to my various teams, make my tone sound nicer, and make content, from different pieces of information, whether it was law firm blasts or other legal publications, so that it's digestible and transferable to my team so that my companies could then take that information and take some action from it. And now I use GCAI as my assistant every day. I make my emails nicer. I summarize notes from conferences. I compile CLE materials. I literally drop content from CLE materials and make this into a checklist for my marketing team or whatnot. I map plans for new program implementation. I've been tracking like an RFP in a thread, and it creates a nice chart so that I can then report out on progress on interviewing new tool vendors and things like that. And then of course, as my contracts manager, we have a few examples on how to use it for contracts, but I use it for everything from creating new templates all the way to reviewing content and checking drafts, very similar that Word would. But what's nice about the tool is not only will it check edits, but then I can say, please explain these edits to my CEO who cares about XYZ. And then it creates kind of a summary of the edits so that I could then relay to my team about what the edits might be.
Yeah. So basically Jennee has figured out how to get the intern working in it. Right. I remember when I've had interns or when I've been an intern, there's that first week or two where you're still kind of figuring out their capabilities. Well, she's actually using it kind of across things. So she mentioned summarizing notes. She mentioned mapping plans, checklists, even just transitioning formats, right? You have something that's a list and you want to make it a table, drop the list and say, make this a table. Literally something as basic as that. Where, okay, making your own table, anybody remember the caret P in Word? I was a paralegal before law school and I got into the depths of Microsoft Word and I figured out that I could do that. But now with AI, you don't have to learn that kind of programming. You can actually just get AI to help you with this sort of word transliteration kind of task. So one thing you could do, a fun one, you could literally give it your privacy policy and tell it, write me 10 FAQs based on my privacy policy, and it will do that. And another common use case, I guess a lot of you in-house, a big thing is giving trainings. So, okay, you gotta give a training for the sales team or a training for the customer care team on whatever it is. You can literally have AI give you that first outline. So yeah, so awesome. So let's go ahead and dive in and see let's go for a next use case. All right. So do your legs hurt, by the way, from trying that on the bike? Sorry, I'm killing myself with the metaphors here. Anyways, all right. So Amy showed us nailing tone. We've got an example here from Jennee that I'll put in slideshow mode. That again with the hashtags, right? So she talks about the company that she works for. We have RealCo with a flagship product called Super Cool Product. And basically, again, it's giving that update and giving the links out, which is helpful. You can actually, with GCI in particular, other AIs can do this to varying degrees if you're using ChatGPT or others. But with GCI, if you actually give it the link, we have a browser that will actually go to that link. If you have an error, you can thumbs down and let us know. By the way, there were questions about security. Everyone has their own individualized database, so data is not intermingled in that way. All right, so now let's unlock the next level. We did talk in this CLE about unlocking, which is like my favorite business forward word. So let's try it. All right, so we have a prompt. We have some prompts that are basically, we call them official prompts, where we've given them to you, we've tested them, and they work pretty well for a lot of use cases. So let's go ahead and dive in and do that. So let's try it. So we are going to, what we're doing here, and I will start over actually, is we are going to, second.
And you'll note that what Cecilia is zipping through are all her company profiles that she has in there. And that's the beauty of GCAI that I think you haven't touched on. That's very different from other chatbots, is that this tool lets you set up your company profile. In the examples that I had, there was a company profile at the top, but with this tool, you don't need to do that. You can load your profile so that you can keep your company information together and your chats together around that company, which is unique and very special.
Yeah, so you can basically, thank you, Jennee. So basically, like for me, I try lots of different things. I pretend to be hundreds of different people and different companies. For you, if you work for one company, it might be that. We do have like some of our users, they're on the board of like a nonprofit, and they sometimes do legal work for that. So they have like different profiles where, again, you might have a different area of law that you're advising on for one of your clients versus another. We've also seen, interestingly, like I think AI is going to lead to these like 10x legal team members, where you can literally, in the past, if you had one client, you can take on 2 or 3 or whatever, because you're that much more efficient. So good point, Jennee. So let's dive in and see. We're going to use this official prompt. All right. So let me show you doing that. So common use case, you're in-house and somebody's like, hey, we want to bring on, let's say Okta. Okta is security software and it's SaaS. I think they charge per seat, but it basically is software that lets your teams create logins and do security and so on. So you get an email and your client is like, hey, counsel, can you please look at this agreement and let us know if there are any issues? So you are helping the procurement team, or if you're a smaller company, maybe you're helping IT, whoever it is you're helping. All right. So you get that question and you're like, okay, am I going to read this like long thing? Maybe you are, in which case, great. But you're probably going to like home in on specific sections. So what we've done with the official MSA review, MSA commercial basics prompt, is we've given you a framework to do that in. So let me pull that up 1 second. Okay. All right. So let me resume the share. So here I am, and I'm going to use this official prompt. So I'm going to go to MSA commercial basics, and it'll have the prompt here. We've got sample chats in the top if you need inspiration. But what I'm going to show you guys, and this is the next level of biking. I'm going to show you guys, I'm not going to kill the metaphor too much, but anyways, this is another biking skill. There's a lot in this prompt. So I'm going to hit use prompt, and that's going to push it over into this area here. And what I've said here is we're bringing on a new vendor. Please review the vendor agreement linked for the instructions below. So we've got insert link here. So again, I've got my Okta MSA here. I'm going to copy that link and I'm going to drop it here. What else to note about this prompt that's good for your own prompting, or you can use the official one, is present your results in the form of a table. So tables are an awesome hack, right? Like data shows that when you present something in a table, people will essentially home in on exactly the info that you need them to look at. Okay, so it just so happens that my company, we are really awesome at procurement. So we have these like slightly non-market commercial basics. But what I want you all to do, so we're going to do I do, we do, you do. We're going to do this one together, and we're going to do this prompt for using the basic thing. So present your results in the form of a table. Here's the 5 questions that I wanted to. Invoices. We don't want to pay by credit card. We want to pay by check. Find out if this agreement allows that. Payment terms. Guess what? We're amazing. We get net 45. So make sure this agreement says that. Auto renew. Okay, all of you software GCs or software folks, like this is like a whole thing. I think I was talking with some other friends, like I think it's like 8 states now have some kind of prohibition on auto renew in the consumer context. So you got to be careful about that. But anyways, no auto renew. What is the term? We don't want longer than a year. What is the effective termination? And so I'm asking, what I'm doing here is I've asked for 5 specific things. So remember that prompting tip where I said be specific? That's what this prompt is doing for you. So let's ask. And then let's take a look at this part. This is also super interesting. You can use emoji to create visuals, right? So use the bullets below as columns. An exact quote, your reasoning, an emoji for needs action, may need action, or does not need action, and then action needed. So again, if I ask it, we want 45 days, and this agreement happens to be 30, then the AI should be recommending an action, should be recommending me getting back to the other side. So let's find out. There it goes. You could also upload the document as well. You know, in this case, we're actually going to go ahead and go to the site and see how it does. Let's see. So let's take a look. Did it find the thing? If not otherwise specified in order form, fees will be due in 30 days. Wah, wah, wah. Okay. 30 days, not net 45. Customer shall pay the octa fees set forth in the applicable payment terms. The agreement does not specify. Okay, so it's telling me to double check. And then what's going on with our favorite provision, auto renew? The contract includes an auto renew clause, which is against your preference. So our intern has diligently reported that the service will automatically renew. So let's double check this. Section 11.1. Now this is something where different AIs are different. So at GCI, we've worked really hard on trying to get exact quotes. And literally we were having the debate the other day with our team. If we correct, there was a double space somewhere where basically a typo. And when we rendered the response, we got rid of the double space. And we're like, shoot, is that not an exact quote? So we are being very lawyery about how we're approaching this because exact quotes matter, right? So other AIs I have noticed, we had an example the other day on, I think it was Anthropic, where the language said the customer shall assist or the customer shall provide assistance upon the following conditions. And the AI, not GCAI, the AI in that case came back with the customer shall assist. Now we all know, like if you've been to law school or not, if you've worked on legal team, you know, customer shall provide assistance if, and customer shall assist, not the same thing. So anyway, that's my thing on exact quote, but let's take a look and make sure that we're getting an exact quote here. So let's do a Control F. Whoops. There we go. The service shall automatically renew 11.1. Did we get it? 11.1. Boom. Love it. Beautiful. All right. And then term of the agreement, effective termination, so on. So I'm pretty happy with that answer. I'm going to thumb up just because I like this answer. But you don't have to, but that's an example of if you have some kind of issue, we do, and you provide the negative feedback, we will take a look at it and see what's going on. But what I want you all to do is pick an agreement. It can be your MSA, it can be any MSA, and I want you to use the GCAI official prompt for commercial basics, but I want you to actually use your own agreement, and then I want you to possibly change these terms. What we're practicing here is making a prompt specific to you. So for example, you could change it to 30-day payment terms. You could change, you could ask whatever question you want. Maybe you care a lot about affiliates being covered in your MSAs. I don't know, you know your business better than I do. And so the assignment is pick a different MSA to use or vendor terms to use and change at least one thing in here. Okay, everybody got the assignment? We're ready for a 2-minute timer? All right, we're gonna ride the Peloton, let's do it. All right, so 2-minute timer. let's go.
And Cecilia, there's been a number of great questions in the chat and Artie has been answering it. But if you want to scroll up and see if there's any questions you want to amplify, feel free.
Yeah, we'll do. And thank you for the engagement in the chat. And thank you also to GCI co-founder and CTO Bardia Porvakil. He is truly the prompt wizard, and the four of us, me and him and Jennee and Amy, had so much fun prepping for this. So thank you to the audience, to all of you as well, for making this fun. Okay. All right. How did that feel? Did anybody get an answer they did not expect, or did anybody get an answer that they liked? Nobody tried it. This is your biking coach. Get on the bike. All right. Well, you get a pass because you tried the general Slack prompt, but I do think this is a fun one. Let's dive in. All right, getting the account set up. All right, thank you, Christopher. Oh, Suzanne. All right, thank you. I appreciate your having done it. So let's dive in. Can we use a prompt with the attached doc instead of link? Great question, Katie. Yes, let's absolutely do that. So let's try that. So let's dive in. Got our 2-minute timer. Let's try an MSA that we have downloaded. So let's see. All right, so let's try it on Salesforce's MSA. If you use Slack or Salesforce, you have in fact had this MSA. So let's try it. Let's try a variant and do something a little bit different. We're going to use the prompt. We're going to attach the Salesforce MSA that I just downloaded. Okay, so let's review the attached. So I like Amy's question where she said, okay, so we're going to say first task, and notice the hashtags. Second task. Tell me what this vendor does or is likely to do for our company. The vendor is Salesforce. So my guess is it has in its knowledge what Salesforce basically does, but it's going to give us a little bit of an outline. So we're going to use Amy's language for that. Present your results in the form of a table. Second task, review the questions below. Then present your results in the form of a table. So let's just ask like 3 questions. Okay, so 1, affiliates. Are affiliates covered under this agreement? 2 is, what is the termination provision in this agreement? And then that's it. Let's just do 2. Simple 2-question table. Let's take a look and see how it does. In this case, we've uploaded. Proceed, I'll need the vendor agreement. Okay. Oh, I said linked. So this is an example where I gave a bad prompt because I said it was linked and attached both. So our poor intern is confused and says, hey lady, what do you want me to do? Do you want it linked or do you want the attached? So I'm actually going to retry here and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to say, please review the attached, get rid of the word linked and submit. So there's no extra cost to doing more shots. So just try it. Like, it's literally like working with an intern. It's just very politely was like, hey lady, you did this wrong. Okay, so let's see. So you see that'll increment to 2. So you can actually try variants. I need to see, could you please upload it? Sorry. Hang on. Let me watch. Okay. The vendor is likely to provide service integral to our, however, this isn't detailed in the exact text. Okay, yeah, let's see. Maybe terminate on 30 days notice. Okay. It doesn't say exactly what Salesforce is going to do for us, which probably makes sense. Customer of SFDC services, it doesn't really say. So it says basically look it up. All right, cool. Affiliate means an entity that controls or indirectly controls. Yeah, look, there it is, section 1, the affiliate definition. It homed in. There was a question in the chat about whether it can go to definition sections and so on, and the answer is yes, it can. Awesome. Okay. All right, so let's go. Anybody have questions or other observations about doing this? It can be great. You can go a stem to stern review. Ooh, Christopher, new metaphor for me. Thank you. I'm going to start using that. Great. All right. Thank you all. Okay. So we are at the hour, but we will go further. Load the 2 ID, add them to the tool, ask what you wanted to do, comparing a vendor agreement with your MSA. Great use case. Awesome. Okay. All right, Jennee, you want to show us another prompt, or where do you want to go next? We can also go to questions. I don't know, Shai, how does it typically work when you get to the hour?
Let's do another prompt and then we'll get to questions. I mean, your co-founder has been doing a fantastic job of answering the questions in the chat in real time. So I feel like we're good on questions, but we'd love to see another use case, and then I think we'll wrap up.
Excellent. Awesome. All right. Amy, did you want to share? You had an awesome, or actually, no, sorry, Jennee, you had an awesome one where you put together a checklist. You want to dive in?
Yeah, I pulled up the example on creating an MSA development checklist. And this is kind of an example of a number of questions that are in the chat where you can load multiple documents. So you can see at the top, I loaded 3 examples. They were just examples I found off the web, like nothing special. And I input the company profile, but as we've noted, you can also enter it as a baseline. But this is a very basic prompt where I started and said, this make-believe company needs help creating a new MSA for its product. I already talked to it about what the product would be and the kind of regulatory space it's in. And then marked down saying, I want it to look at these attachments, please use these examples, review the sections. So I'm telling it what to do in a step basis. So it's saying, take a look at them, make me a comprehensive list, be careful with your time. And also saying like, this is super important. So it kind of makes it focus on the output, and then highlighted that there are 3 attachments. So make sure to look at the 3 attachments. And it created this list. I was like, great. I also have another example. If we've all seen the bond terms, cloud terms, my client was really interested in this template. I said, great. I want it to also maybe take a look at this one and update the list. Can you make me an updated checklist? And it said, after looking at it, here's the updated checklist. I said, great, this looks good. I've created many MSAs, so I was like, this looks pretty good. And now comes to the meat of it. I was like, great, this is super helpful. And I said, instead of a list, can you put it in a chart that I can paste into Excel? So now it's taking content and making it into something that I can transfer into a doc that I can share. This brought up a number of questions in the threads about kind of how you transform the content into kind of deliverables for your teams. And I said, I gave it instructions on what I wanted that chart to look like. And I added these extra things. I said, tell me how these sections help my company. And if I wanted to bolster those sections, how could I bolster those sections? And I call it changes adjustments that can be added to protect the company. And it made this beautiful little chart that then I could go to my client and explain kind of what these sections mean. It became a training tool for my teams to operationalize my MSA, because now they can go in and be like, indemnification, we want to focus on, this area if possible. And they can come in and look at the sections and say, okay, if they got edits to it, this is what it means to the company. And then they come to me with kind of a foundation of understanding what this template means, what the sections mean. And it becomes kind of a training tool for my teams to really understand how this works. So this is kind of like your mix and match. And here I had some extra things that I was messing with, but this is really kind of like the meat of it. But you can iterate, if you want to add columns, if it doesn't get a section quite right, you can come back and tell it, maybe I don't like that professional services section. Can you expand on it? And then it'll iterate it again, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically like when I think about creating, what does she do, a 14-point table? When I think about assigning this to an intern, a human intern, I'm thinking all day, maybe 2 days, right? So what she's showing is she literally gave it 3 documents and she knows what she was after, right? So she's a sophisticated attorney and she knew those are the things. But you don't have to start like where she's going is like whatever her ideas, you can get there, right? So if you're like, okay, give me a training on my privacy policy and give me, 14 questions about my privacy policy, and then you can iterate, and then there's also, fun use cases like Amy had mentioned, where it's literally like communication stuff that's not even strictly legal, like, prepping for an interview where you're like, hey, give me 27 interview questions to ask the product counsel. Or, give me 13 things to tell my CFO when I want to ask for more budget. Okay, so basically, like, there's lots and lots of different things you can do. But yeah, I mean, I like how in Jennee's example, she basically put together different documents and kind of use that to come up with this like canonical table to train her sales team with. Awesome. All right. Amy, what you had a bunch of other fun examples. Anything coming to mind?
Yeah, the one I was going to pull up that I thought would be really helpful is reviewing whether or not we would continue with our PEO that we have. I created India for our pretend company, or set up our own subsidiary. And this was really helpful. So I basically put in some information. This I took from your original prompts as well, where I asked, they gave additional context and legal expertise. So I found that it was a little bit more on point when I went back to some of the original prompts that we learned early on, like as at the end of last year, and then we were in the beta testing. So basically what I did was I went in and I was asked by our leadership team to run an analysis on whether or not we should be forming a subsidiary. In our case, it was the Philippines. Here I've chosen India, and I've created Sasco, which is a pretend company, or if we want to continue on with the PEO. And so here, I've gone in, I put information about the company, I put in some context and asked it to be an excellent and confident lawyer, and that I provide succinct and clear business forward advice. And then I want it to not mention that it can't provide legal advice. I've used not GCAI and other products where it'll basically say, like, the results will say, we are not a lawyer, you need to go out and find a lawyer, we can't give legal advice. And then for the task, I've gone out and asked it to do an analysis of the options and requirements for establishing a subsidiary. And I'm explaining, like, who will be part of the subsidiary. For my example here, I've said it will only be our customer success team and accounting team members, and that there will be no sales actually happening from the entity. I want to understand what will be required to convert all existing staff under a PEO to Sasco's employees. And then I want to do an analysis of the cost to maintain the subsidiary and comply with all employment laws versus continuing the staff. I put in how many we currently have. I just threw in a random number of how much it costs. And then I included information that they would be hybrid. And so when I came out, it's basically giving me the different types of options and what the legal requirements are, the type of entity, the registration process, and then compliance. And then it'll say, we'll need an office space, we'll need HR policies, and then the financial implications, and then the pros and cons. And then it looks at option number 2, which is continuing with the PEO, and to look at this. And then for this recommendation, at the end, if you saw, I also asked for a checklist. And so it has a recommended checklist. And then what you could also do is say, is there anything else I need to consider?
Wow.
So it just comes right away. It'll just ask me, and I just ask it if there's anything else I need to consider. Or sometimes I'll say, can you provide me with a few examples that are specific to my company? And I will ask it to give me more information. So then it helps us start to think about this. Like, obviously, if you're considering, an exit strategy, if you're a private company, how does this play in? It gives a lot of different things to consider, and then say, oh, great suggestions. Can you please incorporate into the checklist? I give it a lot of praise. That's just my general nature. So I give it lots of praise, and it responds in kind and gives me lots of great output.
Look at this checklist. Yeah, I mean, you can go, like, you can really pull each thread like further. So like you've seen, she's given a great example of that, of like, okay, here's our checklist. So now let's try, Amy, like, write me an email to HR about what their involvement should be in this.
I can make it truth greater level.
All right, let's see. Draft a summary email to HR with bullet points of the above. It's great. Yeah, I mean, entity management and opening up a new entity, like when I was a GC at one of my companies, we opened up France, and it was like my life for like 2 or 3 months. So
Yeah.
I think if I'd had AI, it would have been faster for sure. All right. So we've had somebody ask about that. Somebody wanted a training to do a California required sexual harassment training. So one thing to know about AI that I didn't talk about, that I talk about in my more in-depth class, the way AI is trained is it has read, so GPT-4 in particular, has read 65 Libraries of Congress worth of books. So everything ever posted on Reddit, every YouTube video ever made, it has essentially read a transcript of. And so the way it generates knowledge is somewhat similar to, like, anybody remember the TV show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? All right, maybe I'm aging myself, but anyways, from like I guess it was 90s, 2000s. Anyways, one of the things on that show was you could ask the audience. And the ask the audience was a really good way to answer quiz questions because it was like 85% accurate. And so AI is sort of similar. Something like California mandatory sexual harassment training, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of versions of that training online. Similarly, GDPR, I have found AI is really good at GDPR questions because so much ink has been spilled about GDPR. Like I remember in 2017 or May 25th, whatever year that was, it took effect. It literally, like, I got so much in my inbox about GDPR that I had to set up a filter. So now the plus side of that is that AI can answer any question about annual turnover, Article 37, all the different things of GDPR, because it's written about so extensively on the internet that our intern has read many times about it and can do pretty good. So similarly here, there's lots of checklists online, but the way Amy did this is she had AI assemble everything instead of the old-fashioned way. Everybody follows Matt Margolis, the amazing meme guru, that he posts about, how do you write an agreement? You go to the internet, you find a template. Oh no, not that one. Then you open another template, repeat ad nauseum. That's the old way. The new way is basically have people that have AI help you put together agreements, or help you, in this case that Amy showed, help you put together a subsidiary versus a PEO analysis. This is wonderful. By the way, she can share this chat in this scenario. If you share the chat, it makes it public, and she can, but she taps that share button, it'll generate a link. Right now it's a unique link, but it is public. On the other hand, if you wanted to actually copy, she could hit copy and copy this into an email, copy it into Slack, whatever it is. But yeah, this is great. This checklist is lovely. You see the company profiles that Jennee had pointed out. Lots of different ways you can do that. Yeah, so let's see. So we had the question about the harassment training we can try. Any other questions or thoughts? Like, this has been so much fun. I'm like, this is like makes my day. Oh, professional responsibility applications. I can talk about that briefly, or Shai, did you want to chime in?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so on professional responsibility, I do have a slide or two about that. We've thought about this pretty deeply given what we do. Yeah, so word on legal AI, Gen AI and ethics. So basically, the California bar was the first bar to actually put out guidance on this. And as legal folks, we have a duty of confidentiality. We have a duty of competence and to supervise non-attorneys. So you check the intern's work. Very similarly, if you had a fresh intern off the street, you wouldn't tell them to basically, you wouldn't submit their brief without checking their cases. And that's what happened in that Avianca case. You have a duty of candor. So, and, debatable if you have a duty to disclose to the client. I saw a question in the chat about that. And this is a fascinating one. As legal folks, we actually have a duty of diligence. So when you're submitting, for example, those of you who are litigators, if you submit a fee request, the fees have to be reasonable. How close are we to a world where if with AI, something would have taken you 15 minutes, but it took you 4 hours? Can you really submit a fee request for those 3.75? Today you can, but 5 years from now, I don't think so. So AI hits ethics from kind of multiple angles, but in terms of duty of confidentiality, it used to be a debate back in the 90s whether lawyers could ethically use email. So you can Google this. The Illinois State Bar put out an opinion. They took public comment and basically concluded the right way, which is email is like any other technology. You should diligence your providers, make sure that it's secure. And the fact that an ISP might be able to access the files, like, that's not, a standard has emerged, a security standard has emerged. Similarly for AI, I think that's emerging. So you do have a duty not to use just off-the-shelf consumer tools. You need to use enterprise tools, and you do need to read the terms of use. You do need to check the security practices of your vendors. All right, what other questions do people have or thoughts? This has been so much fun, Shai.
Yes.
And it just literally, thank you.
Thank you. So Perez has a question about insurance requirements. I don't know if you can tackle that one. And then I have a question that people have asked several times. So I guess we'll finish up with that last question. But do you have any thoughts on that question on insurance requirements?
Yeah, on insurance. So I'm actually putting together an insurance and AI panel. Maybe they can do it for In-House Connect. I don't know. But basically right now the standards are emerging on insurance and AI. The most interesting question I've heard is that E&O insurance actually covers its errors and omissions. If AI is known to give random responses, is that technically the product not working as intended? Would that even trigger an insurance coverage? That's a debate that people are having. More similarly, I do think what you're getting at around the bar will go up. So people ask me all the time, do I think AI is going to get rid of legal jobs? And I think the answer to that is no. It will evolve everyone, and the level of the whole profession will go up. If you have the opportunity to use AI to make your SEC filings perfect, and you don't do that, SEC is not going to have the patience for that they might have had 10 years ago, right? And they have indicated that they're expecting companies to be using AI, public companies to be using AI. If similarly in a litigation, if your opponent is using AI, you got to too. So a girlfriend of mine is a plaintiff's lawyer. She had an employment case with 8,000 pages of text messages. And you know what? She got through them, but it was a great task for AI. We're literally homing in on whatever it is. These long summarization tasks are truly excellent.
So one other question, and then we will wrap up. People are asking about confidentiality. I saw a number of questions about it. Can you just talk about, how GCAI treats data? Is it segregated? Is it used in a model? Is there learnings? All of that good stuff.
Yeah, so a couple things. So the underlying AI model for us is OpenAI. And OpenAI has a consumer version, which is ChatGPT. They have like an enterprise offering that they sell directly, and then they have an API version or application programming interface, which is how third-party developers like writer.com, like other AIs that you might see, call that API. So we call that API. So on the OpenAI side, they are not training a model on the questions that we send or the responses that get sent back, because we pay essentially on a per query basis. They save that for 30 days for security reasons, and then it goes away. So to train a large language model in the technical sense of literally using it to generate new responses, or a model that will learn whatever knowledge, we are not training an AI model. Like OpenAI is not training a model. On the GCAI side, we're a small startup now. We are not yet creating our own model. We want to, and our terms give us the ability to, with anonymized data, do that. However, exceptions being, we haven't, number one, done it yet. Number two, if you provide feedback, thumb up, thumb down, in that scenario, then yes, like you've given us feedback. In that scenario, we would look at the chat in order to see if there's something wrong. But it's not an AI review yet. That is a human review. Literally, when you thumb up or thumb down, it creates a mirrored copy. And then in that scenario, our technical team, or even me, we go in and look and be like, oh, what happened? Was this law wrong? Was it a new law? Did it go, this is the wrong link, whatever it is. But this is something, this level of AI privacy. I was product counsel at Amazon on Alexa, 12 years ago. And basically, this is something that the big tech companies have been thinking about a lot. And the FTC has also put out opinions on it and so on. My view is that we will get to a point where essentially AI is where privacy was pre-GDPR, where we didn't have standards. And so, now I'm negotiating MSAs. Thankfully, we're very lucky. Our sales are pretty high. So we're negotiating a lot with, very sophisticated parties like you all. Given the nature of our product, we have pretty clear answers on it. And we wrote some FAQs. I think Barty dropped them in the chat, but this is something where, it's given what you all do, I welcome the question. And I think we've landed in the right spot. Will there be companies that are like absolutely zero training? You can't even look at clicks, very basic analytics and logins. Yeah, of course. But might the price of the product adjust for that? Or might you see slower development? Maybe. So these are the trade-offs that you have. And our goal, like Barty said, our differentiator is like, I was a GC for 10 years and been a lawyer, in-house lawyer for almost 20. Like, I know how it is. I wouldn't sell something that I wouldn't buy. And I think that like the power of what we can do with this, I also remind folks like a risk of AI is not using it, right? Like think of, your Polaroids. Polaroid missed Instagram, right? Like they could have done it. They were literally the leaders in photography, one of the most iconic companies of the 20th century, and didn't make it to the 21st for that reason.
Got it. I love that analogy, and I think this has been such a wonderful program, really eye-opening. I want to thank Amy, Jennee, and Cecilia for a wonderful program, and I want to kick it back to you guys. It will go Amy, Jennee, and then Cecilia, final remarks.
I think everybody should try the tool. Absolutely. And use it for 10 minutes every day and challenge yourself to do a new task every single day, because you'll explore and stretch yourself, and maybe you'll fall in love with it like we have.
I think I would echo what Jennee said. When we were beta testing, I would just try something every single day, something different. And the ways that it's helped me organize tasks that would have taken hours, days before, have just been, it's made me so much more efficient in my role. And I think one of the things we talked about was it just gives you time to actually be more strategic and thoughtful in your day, because you've let go of a lot of the administrative tasks. It's really been very effective for our entire legal team.
Thank you. Wow, I'm so touched. Thank you. I really like, when I first used AI in general, I had this jaw-dropping moment of like, oh my God. Like I remember it like the first time I used Google. The fact that the whole world now and our whole profession is embracing it so much makes me so proud. Like I'm literally like almost moved to tears. So like, absolutely, please use it. Send us feedback. We want to make it better. Thank you so much, Shai. Thank you, In-House Connect community. And if you're watching this on video, try the product as well. We're so excited, and nothing makes us happier than making the product better when we get feedback. So please send it along. We have a Slack channel that Barty had dropped. I'm going to try and follow up with everybody over email, and, happy prompting, try it. As your elite biking coaches, nothing would make us happier than to have you send us an email and say, oh, I did a 100-mile ride. It was amazing. The other thing I wanted to add, in both Amy and Jennee's cases, their business clients have commented on their amazing awesomeness, to the point where literally Amy's business team has referred other customers to us. And it's like shocking and beautiful. And I love it. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, GCAI and Amy, Jennee, and Cecilia, for a wonderful program. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Have happy prompting, happy Tuesday, and we'll catch you at the next IHC event. Take care, everybody.